Hello, welcome. So today we're going to be looking at r/ Just No Mother-in-Law. Oh, can't wait. I feel like mother-in-law stories tend to be some of the most unhinged bullshit you've ever seen in your life. So if that sounds like something you'd be interested in listening to today, then please do stick around and enjoy. And don't forget to like and subscribe, please. Thank you. Mother-in-law has been saying rude crap to me for years. Husband thinks it's communication differences. Sure it is. I'm 32F, husband is 37M. We've been married for over 2 years now, but mother-in-law's rude comments started pretty much right after we got engaged. Some examples of the crap she says to me. I'm Korean and Japanese for context, and I'm fluent in Korean, but not at all in Japanese. Husband and I were on a Zoom call with mother-in-law. We don't live close, thank God. And I was saying how fluent Korean speakers can learn Japanese in just 6 months at a conversational level, and maybe we'll go live in Japan for a while so I can learn. Is that because the two languages are quite similar? I don't know. I don't know much about Korean and Japanese language, so I barely speak English well half the time. And I'm native English. Oh God, I'm a piss poor excuse for a human being sometimes. She responded, well, you'll probably just forget it all anyways, so why bother? We were on a family vacation once in a cold climate. I was telling my husband how cold I am, and mother-in-law kept insisting that I put more clothes on. I already had on 4 layers. So I said, no thank you. She then responded, I don't think she's actually cold, she just likes to complain. Mate, I could be freezing cold in the middle of summer. I am nesh as all holy hell. What are you on about? Some people just can't cope with the cold. I am one of them. Oh, and by the way, nesh, if for anyone who doesn't know, is quite a sort of local kind of word for someone who just can't deal with the cold. Someone who's a bit of a fanny when it comes to the cold, basically, to put it in a roundabout way. That's usually what you're saying if you say I'm dead nesh. It's saying I'm a complete fanny when it comes to the cold. I invited my therapist to our wedding. After the wedding, mother-in-law approached me and told me some people were wondering why my therapist was invited and that isn't it a bit strange? I mean, I would personally think it's a bit odd, but it depends how long you've been seeing your therapist. I actually had a very rough childhood, but never had discussed it with mother-in-law, nor did I plan to. So I just gave a pretty diplomatic answer, something along the lines of, I have a very complicated relationship with my mum and my therapist helped me navigate through it all. Yeah, exactly. If you've known them since you were a kid, it makes sense. To which mother-in-law responded, well, I'm sure your mum had a good reasons for all the decisions she made. At the most recent husband's family reunion just a few months ago, mother-in-law got literally 6 inches from my face and asked me if my eyelashes were real. That's where I would bite. I was wearing mascara, to which I just kind of sputtered yes, because of how close she was to my face. She told me, my Korean friend so-and-so told me that Asians can't grow eyelashes. What? So it's really hard for me to believe that those are real. What? What is she talking about? Also, the racist undertones there are coming through. That's uncomfy. She never fails to make remarks about how nothing is good enough for OP. It's true that I'm very picky about what I eat or my clothes, etc., but at the same time, how is that any of her business? It's not. These are some instances, just to name a few. I could go on and on. What almost pisses me off more is that she's always saying these same things with a smile, and she actually never says them to me. She kind of speaks to the room in a direction where no one is hanging out, almost as if she's talking to herself, but I know she's not. I know these comments are nothing compared to some of the stories I read here. Yeah, but over a matter of time and when it's constant, it doesn't matter if it feels like little things. And my husband is very neutral about it, although he is starting to question some of the comments too. In the beginning, he'd be like, I think my mum and you just communicate very differently. Yeah, your mum communicates like a massive bitch. and your wife communicates like a normal person. And that's true. His mum is very passive, whereas I'm very direct and I don't mince my words. But to me, a lot of her comments don't leave room for misinterpretation. And it's not a matter of differences in how we communicate, they're just outright rude. When I first started pointing these out, my husband would be like, I dunno. But lately, I've been flipping the script and I'll ask him if he can imagine me saying that to anyone, let alone a family member. And he's starting to see it too. It's funny that, isn't it? How as soon as it's like, okay then, so I can talk to your mum like this because you seem to think that's an okay way to talk to people. Now he sees it. But to be honest, I think she's just going to claim that she doesn't remember saying these things and nothing will come of the conversation. I also think the conversation should come from my husband where he needs to tell his mum to not be rude to his wife. Am I expecting too much? No, you're expecting the bare blummin' minimum. Goodness me. She is actually coming to visit us soon and will be staying with us. No, thank you. We're getting the locks changed. So maybe he will have a conversation with her then, or maybe he won't. I don't know. I did plan a trip though, so that I don't have to be here with her. Good idea. I work from home and my husband works in the office, and I could tell that that made my husband kind of sad. But I was like, well, you haven't really done anything to defend me or correct the behaviour, and I can't control your actions, but I can control mine. So I'm going to minimise my contact with her. I don't blame you. So, what do you guys think? Are these rude AF or no? Yeah, they're rude, and like I say, some of those comments had a slightly discriminatory undertone, didn't they? And yeah, if I was your husband, I'd be fucking fuming about that. I really would, let alone the fact that she just talks to you like crap anyway. Like, what? So, down in the comments, Farsighted451, is that meant to be an insult or a compliment? What a weird thing to say out loud. Yes, that is exactly what I'd be saying as well. Like, when you bring people up so directly on their crap, they quite often will not know how to respond. And then Cynical Overlord 1979 says the husband should be saying these things every time. Agreed. Then Farsighted 451 says husband should be saying, Mum, you cannot talk to my wife this way, or we will be taking a break for a while because you have been rude to my wife. But he isn't, so my responses are for the OP to use in the moment. Yeah, exactly. Like, the husband doesn't sound like he's going to stick up for the OP. He's probably scared of mummy. So it sounds like she needs to start saying stuff and not feel bad. Don't feel bad. I can hear one of my cats snoring and it's so cute. Update. Mother-in-law has been saying rude crap to me for years. Husband forced a conversation between everyone and it went so bad that he cried. I posted here a few weeks ago about my rude mother-in-law coming to visit us and how I was going on a trip to avoid her. Well, her visit went to absolute crap. I just want to start by saying that her visit went so poorly that my husband cried. Before I get to what happened, there's one other important context I forgot to include in my previous post. I wasn't just trying to avoid mother-in-law, it was also father-in-law. As initially, when the trip was first discussed, it was going to be both of them visiting. Last summer, we were visiting them at their house and a dinner conversation became political. Oh dear. Husband and I were just voicing that we were worried about Project 2025 and his dad blew up on us, which is odd because also vote blue. It went from a calm, normal dinner to his father literally screaming and cursing and berating us for the next 30 minutes, saying stuff like, what is it with you fucking millennials thinking you know everything because you grew up with the fucking internet? Oh, you think you know how the fucking world works? Just wait till you get older, etc. Okay? I mean, you can absolutely be concerned about something that, you know, certain politicians were saying they wanted to do, that was gonna be batshit crazy if they did it. And it's totally cool to be concerned about. My cat has come up and sat on my knee, and I am very, very pleased. Eventually, husband stormed out of the dining room, and I was sitting there with mother-in-law and father-in-law awkwardly, when father-in-law turned to me and said, "This is why you only talk about politics with friends or family." Huh? And I responded, "Oh, I thought I am family? Yeah, and also, like, that's their own son." What? He just kind of sputtered non-words and huffed and puffed out of the room. Meanwhile, mother-in-law is standing there for the entire exchange, not saying a word. No words of comfort or trying to mitigate father-in-law's words. To me, her silence meant agreement. Not that I expected more from her, and it was almost nice to have a confirmation of where I stand with husband's family. Like the burden of having to try was lifted off me in that moment because, according to them, I'm not family. So that brings us to the last month when this trip is being planned. I told my husband I will absolutely not be putting myself in a position where I might potentially be berated again. Fair enough. Especially under my own roof. So either you talk to your dad and get some hard boundaries, or just accept that I will not be here. In the end, father-in-law ended up not coming, but at that point my trip had already been booked and it's not like I wanted to spend time with mother-in-law anyways, due to reasons from the last post. The initial plan was to come back after mother-in-law had left entirely, but the flight that returned 3 days before that was literally a third in price, so I thought to myself, it's 2.5 days. How bad could it be? Those are the famous last words now, aren't they? Oh no. When I returned home, she was not talking to me or acknowledging me at all. It was honestly as if I wasn't even here. That's so rude when you're in somebody's house. What? If she wanted to say something to husband, she would talk around me. Oh, what? That's so rude. She would do stuff in the kitchen humming while I was sitting right there. Husband noticed it too right away. He was like, I can't do this for the next 2 days. We need to talk. Ah, he has found that nice shiny spine. It was about time. So, later that evening, he sat us down and told us to get out our grievances against each other. She immediately burst into tears, saying that we were interrogating her. Sure. She preemptively bought a box of Kleenex to the table for fuck's sake. Oh my God. I really did not want to have this conversation because I didn't think it would be productive. I mean, her starting out with the waterworks was pretty telling, but husband urged me pretty hard, so I gave her a few examples of the comments she'd made in the past that had hurt my feelings or made me feel that she didn't respect me. I mean, her starting out with the waterworks was pretty telling, but husband urged me pretty hard, so I gave her a few examples of the comments she's made in the past that hurt my feelings, or made me feel that she didn't respect me. This ended up becoming a 3-hour conversation, so I'll spare you all the details and just leave here some of the worst that was said. Me brought up the learning Japanese comment from my last post. Mother-in-law, well, I'm not someone who cuts down other people with my words. I always try to serve others. So if you are offended, maybe you have problems with receiving. Have you tried looking inwards? Me brought up the comment made about how Asians can't grow lashes. Mother-in-law, what's wrong with saying that? Me, okay, so if I came up to you and asked, hey, is that your actual skin tone? Because this old white lady I know told me white people can't tan. You don't think that's rude? Mother-in-law, well, anyhow, I didn't say that anyways. What? Me brought up the comment made about my mum and my therapist. Mother-in-law, I'm just saying the truth. That is the truth, is it not? If you're having a hard time accepting truths, maybe you just have a lot of unresolved trauma and it sounds like you need to consider going back to therapy. Okay. This comment actually got me so effing fired up. I responded that I would never be so insolent enough to suggest to someone something as deeply personal as going back to therapy, and she doubled down and said that that's what she believes in about me, and that she has a right to say what she believes in. Aside from these, her responses varied from, sounds like you need to work on introspection. I don't remember saying that. That wasn't my intention. You need to learn to let things go. I'm not responsible for your emotions. Maybe you were looking for things to be offended by. Why are you keeping score? Well, I don't know what you want me to say. Why is everything about accountability? Where is your accountability? Are you even asking yourself why you're having these feelings? Maybe you don't know yourself as well as you think you do. At the end of it all, it was honestly a total mind F. My husband tried to throw her so many lifelines too by saying stuff like, Mum, I think what Jen wants is just a genuine apology, or telling me what I think my mum meant is that, and she just doubled down every damn time. The level of self-sabotaging was actually impressive and unbelievable, because this woman's biggest grievance in life is that her son won't call her and see her enough. I mean, to be honest, I'm kind of glad she doubled down, because then at least her son could not make excuses for her. At the end of it all, my husband actually schooled her step by step on what a genuine apology consists of, and she literally turned to me from him, repeated what he had just said word for word, but just replaced it with my name. It was mocking and disingenuous. She was just bugging out at me at the end of the apology, and I just turned to my husband and told him I'm done. I actually left the apartment to go to our rec deck, and he followed me down too. I looked at him and was like, I really need to know that you understand that was a complete fucking shit show. He agreed. Then he asked me if I was okay. I said, I don't know. Then I asked him if he was okay, and that's when he burst into tears. I mean, at that point, there really wasn't a shred of hope left that mother-in-law and I will have any type of relationship he was hoping we'd have. Also, to have his illusion of his mother shattered like that, I'm sure all that was very difficult to process. He actually wanted to book his mum a hotel and take her there that night, but I said it was fine. It was just 2 more nights, and I told him he will regret it if he doesn't try to have at least one last good day with her before she returns home. We live 6-hour flight away from each other. He agreed, and the next day he spent the entire day with her, and apparently she was in the best mood, just laughing and joking with him the entire time. I didn't get brought up once. My friends, thankfully, are the best, and they whisked me away for the day. They are friends I went on my trip with and knew about the whole debacle with mother-in-law. The morning she left was a work day, which starts at 5 a.m. for me, and I was on a meeting anyway at the time of her departure, so I didn't come out of the room to see her off. Maybe that was rude of me, but to be honest, after that conversation it was upsetting to even share our space with her, yeah I bet, let alone to have to interact with her. My husband never came by to ask me if I was going to say bye. He knew I wouldn't and had accepted it. Apparently, when they were saying goodbye, mother-in-law was clutching him and wouldn't let go, crying in hysterics that she feels like she's never going to see him again. And he was just like, okay, so do you know this was an absolute train wreck? I am still trying to wrap my mind around all the crap that went down. On one hand, I'm glad that my husband finally saw the side to his mum that I have been dealing with for literally years. On the other hand, I'm completely mind blown. This woman, who apparently cannot get enough of her favourite son, just absolutely self-sabotaged her already precocious relationship with him. Like you'd rather be right that bad? At the risk of losing your son? I'll never get it. Thought I'd update you guys since I got so many more comments than I had expected on my first post. Your comments made me feel so seen and justified, and I thank you guys for that. I suspect that this is my last post here, as husband is pretty disgusted by his mum's behaviour and told me that we won't be hosting her ever again in the future, nor does he expect me to maintain a relationship with her, so that's a win. So, down in the comments, Intrepid Much says, I don't think she self-sabotaged. I think she got away with being her awful self to your face and in your house, and she was rewarded with a day of no you. Yeah, literally! That's like what I was thinking. I was trying to put my finger on what I was thinking about why that didn't sit right with me, but no, that is the perfect explanation for why. There were no consequences to the crap that she'd spewed, and there will be no changes. And then Gringaloka26 says, agree 100%. She should have been sent to a hotel and told that neither of you will have contact going forward. She got exactly what she wanted. And then Original Rent 7677 says, show your husband this comment. Exactly. She did just literally get her own way, and that is infuriating. Okay, so I think that's all we've got time for today. If you made it all the way to the end with me, I appreciate you very, very much. If you give me a little like, subscribe, notifications on, I'll appreciate you even more, and that is your initiation into the Cult of Void. Welcome. Whatever it is you're doing for the day, I hope you have a really good rest of the day. Goodbye.